You know, Destiny's been around for so long now that we have these things I like to refer to as the forgotten firearms. You know, weapons that at one point in time in Destiny's, rich history were highly desirable. They were sought after. They were used very frequently by gamers, and now they've just sort of, I don't know, just sort of vanished into obscurity. Maybe they're holding down a spot in your vault and you haven't touched them in literally years. For me, that was the Sunshot. You know, and I want to do maybe a couple of videos to highlight some forgotten firearms that were at one point like really, really good in the game. Sunshot for me is one of those weapons that has a very rich history in Destiny, at least in my time with Destiny, because I don't know if you remember this, a little bit of story time. You may have forgotten this, but when Sunshot, came out with the Destiny 2 launch, it was not a very desirable weapon. It didn't really do anything particularly well. Everyone sort of agreed that it was really hard to use. Like, it was unnecessarily unwieldy, had ridiculous recoil. You couldn't see anything. Every time you pulled the trigger, the whole gun would cover your entire screen. It's like every time you fired, it'd pull it up right between your eyeballs. But then catalysts started dropping. And so the catalysts at the time were sort of, they were tied to the faction wars. So, we had the New Monarchy, we had Dead Orbit, we had Future War Cult, before Lakshmi turned into a racist piece of trash. And where you pledged your affinity dictated what catalyst you were going to get. And you couldn't, split your affinities at the time. So a lot of people were like, I'm pledging to, I think it was Dead Orbit had the Graviton Lance catalyst. And at the time, this was back when Graviton and Vigilance Wing were the meta guns. Like, those two guns, dominated the game. They were way up on top. Nothing could touch them. This was double primary days, back before we got special weapons back into the game. And so everyone was going after that Graviton Lance catalyst so that they could use it in comp. So that was the first season that comp dropped, and the Relics' Claymore was available. Not the broadsword, the OG Claymore. So no one was messing around. Everyone pledged Dead Orbit except for the few select of us who decided, I want to use Sunshot. I want to make bigger booms, baby. So I pledged Future War Call, and I got myself the Sunshot Catalyst on that week, while everyone else was busy grinding out their catalysts for the Graviton Lance. This is what I got. And for me, at the time, I mained Sunshot and the Atalanta D, which was a gunsmith kinetic SMG. It was, most people didn't think it was better than Antiope. Probably wasn't, but I really liked it, so I used it a ton. So for me, I got to sort of revisit my OG loadout back then. I mained Gunslinger during that season, Sunshot, Atalanta D, and the Braytech Osprey, which I have all 1,700 PvP kills on. I stopped using Sunshot. I was so bummed. I don't know if this happened to you guys too, but when they sort of revamped the way that catalysts and kill trackers and things like that worked, it wiped our kill trackers on some of these OG exotics. So my Sunshot, I had over 4,000 PvP kills on this thing, and they're just gone. There's nothing that shows that or displays that anymore. And I was genuinely bummed about that, because for me, I know that sounds maybe a little shallow, but for me, seeing the number of kills on a gun go up is one of those things in Destiny that gives me a sort of a bit of a dopamine hit. I love being able to track my kills and be because it sort of shows me the value of the relationship that I have with that firearm. You might think, oh, I remember really liking this gun, and you go back, you look at it, you only had 200 kills on it maybe. But then there's times where you're like, there was a time where I mained this other gun. How good was it? How good was I with it? And you look at your kill tracker on, you're like, I had 3,000 kills on this thing? That's nuts. I love seeing that number go up. So for me, that was a big bummer to have to start over at 0. That's one of the reasons I stopped using Sunshot, was because I didn't want to have to, I was still reeling from the pain of seeing that number vanish, and I didn't want to have to sort of start that grind all over again. But this week I revisited it. Bungie's trying their hardest, their absolute hardest, to get me to be a meta piece of trash, and I'm trying my hardest to resist. I broke down yesterday. I played 3 matches with Cloud Strike and Adept Immortal on my Arc Titan. And I'm not throwing shade at anybody who resorts to it, but I mean, good grief, the Immortal does all of the work for you. I respect gamers, but I do not respect any plays with that gun, because as I'm using it, I'm like, this does not even make sense. I'm not even trying. I'm literally just hitting aim and then pulling the trigger, and people are dying. Like, it so far outranges any other primary in its family, in its, of its type, and it is so sticky and easy to control. Like, I still can't believe they shipped that gun. I can't do it. It almost feels like, in lieu of, actually having new meaningful content in Destiny's PvP experience, it almost feels like they're trying to, this seems a little cynical, I could be way off, but it feels like they're trying to bolster the numbers in PvP by just having busted stuff from time to time. So when people say PvP's in a bad spot, Bungie can be like, no, look at this, look how many people played Trials this season on this week. It's like, well, yeah, because you dropped the Immortal, the most broken gun that completely shatters the meta. It's completely unbalanced. It doesn't deserve to be in PvP. So of course people are going to go grind it out and be a part of that experience that week. It's more about FOMO than it is about having a good PvP experience for people to interact with. So it almost feels like a way of bolstering their numbers without actually doing anything to PvP that's meaningful. I know, that sounds really cynical, and I could be way off. That's certainly the way that it sometimes feels. I think we had that, like Shire, it was Shire's Wrath dropped. It was the cream of the crop. Like, nothing could touch it. And similarly, a lot of people grinded Trials, and the numbers went through the roof on those weeks when Shire was the thing to chase. Anyways, enough about that. Despite Bungie's best efforts, I'm still trying to go against the grain like I used to when Sunshot's Catalyst first came out. Like that story about Graviton Lance, and everyone was trying to play the meta and take the best thing into the comp experience. It certainly was the smart thing to do, but it wasn't the TV thing to do. So for me, I really like Unsung Heroes, Underdogs, and Three-Legged Horses. So it was Sunshot for me, and not the Antiope, it was the Atalanta. This Atalanta that I got here is actually the refurbished one that was dropping from Forges way back in Season of the Forge. And you can see it's got Zen Moment and Dynamic Sway Reduction on it with a handling masterwork. My goodness. This thing is actually scary good. It's scary good. And I've got 17 zoom on it with the that particular optic. I love this thing. And I've got over 1,300 kills on it because it still hangs. Like I've been using this in Iron Banner this week. Like, yeah, it still hangs. It still slaps. You'll probably see some of that in the gameplay too. But I'd love to know, what are some of the unsung heroes against the grain picks that you really like to use in PvP? What gun out there gives you that dopamine hit? Even if it isn't meta, even if it isn't even particularly good. There's still guns I use where I'm like, I'm going to be honest, this gun is not good. But when it does what it does, well, it's pretty fun. So let me know in the comments section what your forgotten firearm is and why, and what kind of a relationship you had with it. A couple of quick housekeeping items. I did partner up with Apex Gaming PCs, so if you're ever in the market for a new PC, for yourself, for a friend, for your wife, for a child even, I'm starting to have to think about what I'm going to do for my boy for getting him like a gaming rig as well. But if you're ever in the market for a new PC, check them out. I've got an affiliate link that will take you to some custom builds that I set up in advance for you guys to choose from at different tiers, and you can use code TRUE when you check out for up to $250 off your order, and you can finance them as well, so you don't have to pay it all in one big chunk. So check that out. As far as the live streams go, I know a lot of people are like, hey, TV, where'd the live streams go? You haven't been streaming. I've streamed once in the last month and some change, which is very weird for me, I know, but there's a couple of reasons for it. One, I lost my dog, and it was kind of hard on me. I didn't feel like streaming for a couple of weeks after that. And then on top of that, I landed a bunch of sponsored deals, and in order to bang those out, I needed to get specific gameplay. I needed to do a lot of editing, send drafts off to sponsors for approval, all that stuff. So it's very time consuming, and I was very grateful for the work because it's good guaranteed income. So I appreciate your patience with that. When things calm down a little bit more, I'd like to get back into the groove of doing some more consistent live streaming. But right now, kind of on this content grind to get these things out the door and take care of my family. But in the meantime, I hope that the content has been exciting and entertaining because I've increased the number of videos that I publish by 350%. So a lot more videos going up because of it. So hopefully those have been entertaining. But thank you so much, everybody, for your support. If you're one of the new subscribers, part of the fallout of having tons of videos go out there in these this last month is that we've had a lot of new subscribers. So over 2,000 new people to the channel. Hey, I see you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for choosing to opt in to subscribe to my content. That means a lot to me. To those of you who have been ride or die subscribers for a long time, hey, you are my heroes. I thank you and appreciate your consistency for sure. With all that said, I wish you all the best of luck in your farming endeavors with Iron Banner this week. Be warm and well fed, my friends, and I hope to catch you in the Crucible. Bye-bye.